All right, so let's get this started. All right, so we had a whole plan of kind of doing this live on Facebook, but unfortunately, everyone else in the world probably had the same kind of plan, so we're just going to do it this way.
That's fine.
Um,
Let's make it happen.
yeah, this is what, number 7 now, Roy?
Yeah, it's been considering it's only been like 14 days, 13 days.
Nice.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so we've been working with Zach, who's been really great, just like reaching out to people, kind of like planning it all, and then we've been doing podcasts almost every day now, so it's been fun.
That's good.
Yeah, but we're really excited to talk to you. We're not going to do any intro because you're obviously already here, so let's just kind of dive into it, man. So I know we were talking a little bit before. Why don't you just give everyone that's listening just a little background, who you are, what's all these things that you have going on, and we can kind of dive into all that.
Let's see if we can get the Cliff Notes versions. Mikel Thomas, at Mikel_Thomas at everything. 3-time Olympian and national record holder from Trinidad and Tobago in track and field in the 110-meter hurdles. Grew up in Brooklyn, went to East New York, to Transit Tech, graduated from the University of Kentucky. Had the pleasure of representing my nation all around the world in track and field, internationally, a couple of medals in some really cool places, some awesome memories that we've been able to share with family and friends. And recently, I've had the honor of representing my community as a firefighter. I just love the idea of being a part of something bigger than myself, from representing my nation to representing my community and serving them in that capacity. To now, in a sense, my vision has been refined by fire, I would say, to where I want to take my passion and my joy of sport and really try to impact and help as many people as possible through the power and the joy that you can experience through any kind of sport. And that led me to take a leap to go to graduate school. And my deal was like, if I'm going to go to the #1 school. Oh, lo and behold, I got in. and,
That's awesome.
And so I had to make a transition to Lausanne, Switzerland, which is the Olympic capital of the world, to be a part of the #1 sports management program there. Switzerland is not cheap, and trying to simultaneously train for the Olympics is a little difficult. So I was able to crowdfund my way over there. We were able to raise over $20,000 in the span of a month, which is quite an exercise.
That's awesome, man. Yeah.
But a huge shout out to all those who have believed in me and my mission, and willing to take a chance on someone who just had a dream. And we still have some ways to go. We're literally, after raising $28,000, $8,000 seems really small.
Yeah.
But in the same sense, classes will be up in June. We've been making adjustments, waking up early in the morning, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning to finish classes online. But I'm excited about, continuing this mission and finishing what I have to do on the track, and then continue to transition to using sport as a vehicle for change.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, I mean, anyone that's listening that hasn't been to his Instagram, it's really awesome. Like, he has like really great videos, really inspiring, and just awesome, man. You like your Instagram, I was just watching it. Like, all your videos are dope. Like, whatever you're creating, good stuff. It's looking good, man. Like, yeah. So you said you did 1,000 meter?
1,000 meters. Oh man, don't be putting no long distance on me. That's dangerous words here. I'm a 110 meter hurdles. Do a little bit of sprinting, but the 110 has opened up doors for me, which is kind of weird because I stand a strong 5'8", which by event is more a 6 foot, because you're talking about a 42-inch barrier that you have to clear 10 times as fast as you possibly can.
Yeah, that's insane.
So it wasn't an event I was recruited in college for. It wasn't even an event I really did in high school. I only did it maybe twice in my high school career. The first time I really trained for the event was the Olympic year in 2008, and I was able to make the team. So it's one of those things where I had this stubborn belief that I can do it, and I hated the idea of someone telling me that I couldn't. Just the idea of someone writing my story. So I took time. I studied the craft. YouTube was my teacher. I trained on my own, and then one day I went back to Trinidad and ran at the junior championship and ended up breaking a record. And from then on, it ended up evolving more and more consistently until that was 2007 and then 2008 when I finally, coach was like, all right, you can focus on this event a little bit more. We made the Olympic team and then I earned my full scholarship. So it was it was one of those things where, you know, that belief in self, that opportunity to write your own story, seeing something out and just continuing to just stay committed to the process. Even though in the beginning it looked like it was impossible, literally it looked like it was this high, but I think consistency is what helps make the difference.
Is that something about your personality? It's always been like you kind of strive for something that's maybe bigger than yourself, or maybe something that you feel like other people would be like you're not capable of doing?
I feel like if you're not attempting something that makes you scared that you're going to fail, you're not doing anything significant.
Right.
Like, I think if there isn't by resting just in something safe that you know you can do, I think it doesn't evolve. It's just like how the human body works. In order to get stronger, you have to tear away muscles. You have to strain. That's the only way you can see strength. It's the same thing with our abilities. The only way that I was able to understand a lot of the things that I can do now was because of tough situations. Like even the idea of marketing and content creation was because I had to find money to fund my training. The ideas of understanding how to deal with national organizations and government agencies and international federations is because I had to liaise with different people to get certain programs done within the community to get funding for myself and other athletes. It's as much as sometimes we want, and I might be one of the last few, I would say like the millennial era, there's a group of us that had to really fight for everything that we had to go through, like you hear the older folks say, and then there's a group that things have become a lot different. There's different obstacles. I'm not going to minimize anybody's battles, but it's just a different set of obstacles. And because a lot of the things that I was going through in the beginning stages of my career, we weren't as connected as we were now, the information wasn't available. So you had to figure it out. And because you had to figure it out, that's when you see, okay, I could do this, I can't do this. And then you kind of see where life kind of is directing you. So I would say my life has been a unique set of experiences that somehow has, I believe, prepared me for where I am now.
Did you have any like mentors growing up, or like who was your inspiration behind like keeping that mindset? Because I think it's like a really strong mindset. A lot of people wish they can kind of continue when things get hard or push through, and like who helped you develop that, or how did you kind of get into that?
I mean, I would say I had the pleasure of growing up in the 90s where it was a bunch of badasses, if I could just be frank. And so the idea, like Muhammad Ali was one of the huge things, you know, growing up in Brooklyn, Mike Tyson was one of the huge things. And so you see these men and some really cool women as well who are using sport as a platform. Not all are perfect examples, but in the same sense, you take what you can and then you make it attached to your story. And because I'm an immigrant, I came from Trinidad and Tobago, there was a lot of adaptations that had to happen in my life. And I lost a lot of figures along the way. So the things that I really wanted to see wasn't visibly around me, but I knew that there was something that was important because it was on my heart. So strangely enough, also circumstances that I was in, some of the tough situations that I've had to overcome, I had to look within to be the things that I wanted to see out of other people. So I'm being transparent in the idea that I didn't grow up with my father. And so the idea of consistency, again, is something that I've said over and over within this conversation. It's something that I wanted to see from men. It's something that I wanted to see in my life. So rather than just wanting to see it, the best way to see it is with yourself. So if I'm doing something, I'm doing it on a consistent basis. If I'm doing something, I'm going all in. I really don't know how to do something half-assed. I don't. Like, as long as I've been in, man, I've been blessed to be a part of 3 Olympic Games. That's 12 years. But it takes at least another 4 prior to make the chance of 1. And really it takes about 10 to even make 1.
Right.
So I don't know. I just don't know half. I just don't know what it means to kind of do something. Even the idea of when I became a firefighter, I had goals that I've written out before I went in. And the only one I didn't accomplish was I wanted to sweep all the awards. And then at the week before all of the awards, I was told that they don't do that. They don't give all the awards per se, because, you know, it's the idea of camaraderie amongst firefighters. If it was the military, I would sweep all. But in the same sense, I held the leadership position in my rookie class longer than anybody else in program history. I had one of the top marks in grades. I took the most physical award. So those are the three categories in which you were in, and I was a strong 2 out of 3. Could have did better on the grades, but it's the same sense. It's just, you know, there were definitely some things. We don't have an excuse now not to find the information, but I do feel like more people need to share certain stories. Let's make it human and not just, you know, something that you read on paper. So like the idea that someone once told me that, you know, you have to write out your goals. You have to make them plain. If you're a spiritual person, it's a scripture in the Bible. And so just the idea of, okay, writing it out makes you accountable to your own goals because you have to see it. And so accountability starts with just you. And so all the things that, because I had to spend a lot of time by myself through different phases of my life, I realized that what you see first within yourself is what you can expect out of other people. And if at the end of the day, you're the common factor within every situation that you've ever been through. So since you're the commonality, you want to make sure that that piece of the puzzle is as strong as it possibly can be. And because I've realized that in a lot of situations, I can't change the world instantaneously, but I can always work on myself. So that constant opportunity to grow and evolve, I think that, again, has impacted my journey a little bit.
Yeah, me and Roy are big proponents. We talk a lot about like writing out goals because, like you said, it definitely like keeps people accountable. They don't realize that like when you write something out, you know, you're essentially creating your own agreement to yourself. Like, this is what I'm going to do, and then they're faced with it, right? Like if it's just kind of like floating in their head, they have how many thoughts a day that it's just going to get lost. So Absolutely. Me and Roy talk about it all the time, man. That's great.
You like give a life to it. It almost becomes like, out of all the things that are running through your head, you know that it's important because you took the time to put it out on paper or write it out for yourself and put like time and attention and detail to it. So I think it's like, it's great. It's awesome to hear you talk about this because we do talk about this. We have our own podcast specifically on writing goals, and we're always advocating writing the things that you want to get to. And to see that, you know, an Olympian is up at that level and it's still doing that. It seemingly seems like this is just part of your DNA. It seems like you've just been doing it without someone telling you to do so.
It's principles. I mean, as you study it doesn't matter what the field is of successful individuals, there's just key principles that people do. And what I like about, especially making something written out, is we have millions of thoughts that go through our head, good and bad. The one thing that I know that I can do for myself to silence those thoughts is read something. And so when you read what you wrote, it's a truth. That's how you can differentiate between what's good and what's bad. Should I do this or should I do that? What did you write? That's the truth. Because even if you were in a certain frame of mind when you wrote it, you can always go back to that. And so when doubt comes, you go back to that. When fear comes, you go back to that. You have something tangible. And again, I believe in believing before you see it, but this is a way to see it before you believe it. And so that's how it kind of turns into a whole full cycle. If you don't have anything written out, you know, there's the idea of vision boards. We're so stimulated nowadays. I've even done things where in certain parts of my life, I had to record my own voice. I've had to make videos for myself because the most important voice that you can ever hear is your own. And so when you create your own content just for you, things that you can read, it depends on, you know, how you are. Like if you're audio, if you're visual, if you like to, whatever speaks to you, let yourself speak to it, because all those thoughts will come. But it's in those moments when they do come, who are you going to believe? You're going to believe you. The right shoulder or the left shoulder. You might as well have something tangible. It's like, okay, this is what I said when I started. This is what I said when I was pumped up. This is what I said when I meant it. And this is what I'm going to choose to believe. If you don't, then your head is in the clouds and you're just going to go around in circles stuck. So it's just one method that I've used. Some things that I need to get back on, but it makes a difference when you can get it from yourself. And if you got people who got your back, man, keep those voice notes, those voicemails, those texts, keep them, because again, if you're not doing anything that's worthwhile, the doubt is going to come, the fear is going to come, the worry is going to come, the questions will come. And the only way you can answer those questions is with a truth. And that's how you back it up.
I love that.
That's
actually,
like super valuable.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
worth a shot.
Yeah, I was I was gonna say, like, especially in the time where it's like there's nonstop scrolling through Instagram. There's like a million plus billion videos on YouTube.
ways
There's
to get
nonstop
distracted.
social media is like, so
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like you're almost like there are almost so many voices that are, it's not in your head anymore. It's literally all around you. So to know that, like, not to skip it on your own voice, right? So
Yes.
not to give yourself the out, and know that you can still write yourself the messages, you can still give yourself the videos, the audio, and create that message for yourself, and you have the accountability and the truth that is going to be the biggest impact for yourself, and obviously the people that care for you and maybe are giving you those positive notes. But there are a good amount of people that don't have that. So like, if you don't have that, where are you getting your destination from? Are you getting it from the 110 voices that say watch me because I'm flashing my butt in a bikini, or are you getting it from the bright people, or from yourself?
Yeah, and I think especially in this time where there's so much misinformation going around, especially with COVID-19, and everything is impacted. If you haven't been impacted, you're living in a bubble, literally.
Yep.
Right.
But you have to be careful of what you're feeding yourself. I've even had to be aware of it because, it gets into your dreams, it gets into your subconscious, it gets into how you think about other things. And I never like fear to be a motivator. And I believe that, fear will always exist. Faith is what you do in the face of fear. So you have the opportunity to still approach it. I mean, I literally danced with fire in a part of my life. But it's like, what do you do in those situations? If I have to take a firefighter analogy, it's preparation. What makes you prepared to face some of the darkest situation is the fact that you feel prepared for it. When you're not sure, did you do everything that you needed to do to this point to make it be as successful as you could possibly want? It's almost like in military training, you never train for best circumstances. There's always contingency plans. You're always prepared for the worst, but yet you still hope for the best. And I feel like sometimes people are afraid to hope for the best nowadays. They're afraid to put it out there, what they're working on or what they desire, because now everybody feels entitled to an opinion. So everyone is ready to just like attack it. It's like, just to be straight up, that's part of the reason why in part of my journey, I left New York because I grew up there, right? So I grew up in New York, and everybody knows New York is a city of dreams. If you're from another place, it's a city of dreams. If you're from New York, if you grew up in New York, and I grew up in
City of
Brooklyn,
opinions.
yeah, exactly. Like, you have a lot of people who are like struggling just to get by, and you have a lot of people who came. I don't know if anybody's ever read The Alchemist. If you've never read it, it's a top 10 book. Put it on your list. But there's a story in The Alchemist where everybody's given like a personal legend, something that you're called to do. But the main character met someone who stopped along the way and was trying to stop the main character from doing the same thing, from fulfilling his purpose. And that's what happens in New York. It's social media in real life. It's everything is coming at you simultaneously, so you can get distracted. Like, I came to do this, or I'm trying to do this, but now we got to do this. You got to make this money. You got to eat. You got to party.
Yeah.
There's so much happening all the time that sometimes it's hard to protect that seed. And so I remember it was 2011. Real story, transparency, real story. I already made an Olympic team in 2008. I graduated from university, and I came back to New York kind of with my tail between my legs. Injuries was making it hard for me to transition fully professional. Track and field has its own issues. There's a lot of a gray area of what it means to be professional in the sport. So I came back home to try to figure it out for a summer. And I remember there was a job interview that I was going to. It was just like a security job, something that I can do, pay the bills, get by. And I was looking at my resume, and it had a lot of things that was working towards the sport, to developing, performing, to coaching, things of that nature. And I walked out of the interview, and I came home, and I told my mom, love my mom, we had this conversation. She told me something that I would never forget. She told me dreams don't pay bills. That broke my heart. Because I came from moms, that came from, but in the same sense, I was like, but I proved myself capable. I'm already an Olympian, and next year is the Olympics. You can't see me like fighting for my dream. I literally had a choice of, do I stay in New York, even though they were out, give it up. When you find the right people in New York, you can make some amazing things happen. Like, there's some dope people, but you have to find them, and you got to be aligned, and you guys got to speak the same language, and you guys got to close off, because it's too much nonsense. But even though I found some people, because my home situation at the time wasn't necessarily what I felt was conducive, I had my conversation with God. It's like, man, you can take me anywhere you feel like it's necessary. I had one job offer at the time to coach at a junior college in Concordia, Kansas. I couldn't even point that on the map.
I still can't, so.
Right. It was like me and the Wizard of Oz out there. It was one Walmart in the town. I went back to the Midwest, and the Midwest was definitely like my wilderness at certain places. But it gave me a level of accountability, because now I was accountable to the athletes and the students. Junior college is like a last chance for a lot of people. So you come in hungry, and I needed that atmosphere. I had to become super resourceful, because we didn't have facilities or the budget that I'm used to from coming from the SEC and the Big 12 and the money programs. And so you now have to figure it out. I made the Olympic team not because of just super talent, but will, because I had to have my training session, and then my athletes would come in and see me. And if I wasn't practicing what I was preaching, I couldn't coach nobody. And so that level of accountability then became external. So it's when your internal motivation matches with an external factor, man, it becomes an explosive dream. And so because of that, that year was very a catalyst for me, because that after that year, I was finally able to make it professional, where I was able to earn money from my sport. But it took me going there with less than you would expect, because in New York you have everything at in your fingertips, to be able to refine. Also, it was a situation where do you really want it? When it doesn't look the way you thought it would look, you don't have the things that you think you need, do you still want it? And I think that was a good opportunity for me to see that. I remember when I qualified, I was at Texas Relays in UT Austin, and I cried. I won the meet, and it was just tears, because it was so much that was like bent up towards that explosion. Even was hurt at one point during the season. It was just a lot, but it meant more because I was able to then come back to the college and share that with the athletes and be like, this is what we can do. This is part of the journey that you're on. And then a few years later, I was able to see an athlete that I worked with then make it to represent his national team at the Commonwealth Games. And that was rewarding, just to see that I don't care if I plant the seed, if I water it a little bit, if I can water your dream or your ambition, your vision for what you can see for yourself, I'm happy with that. Let God do the rest. Let you write your own story. But if I can just give you a little oil in your wheels so that you can keep going, because whatever it is that you're called to do, we need it, because there's only one you. So I need you to be the very best version that you are called to be, so that we can receive the gift that you are called to give us.
That's awesome. I love that. It almost seems like you kind of like go out and do like, so like, as an example, when you were talking about going to Kansas, like you're putting yourself in these situations where you're playing from behind almost, where another athlete might be like, I'm not going to Kansas, I have no shot, I can't do it, I need to go to a big school. And you're like, no, this is like, it's almost like you use that as fuel to be able to drive yourself and motivate yourself to kind of take chances and risks and use that to fuel yourself forward.
Yeah, it's almost like a coaching analogy that I was told a long time ago that I kind of believe with now. It's not necessarily 100% true, but it's to an extent. If I'm a basketball coach and I'm new in the game, I ain't got no stripes on me, and I get to somehow, by the grace, get to be on UK's team. That's my alma mater. Go Big Blue. And you're getting big athletes into the school. Is it you or is it the University of Kentucky? You understand? There's a legacy effect.
Right.
If you go to I'm going to use Calipari there now, for example. If you go to a Memphis, when Memphis was nothing, and you make Memphis into a program, that's different. And the really, really great coaches all had those humble beginnings where they came from those situations that was like, okay, what do we do now? Because that's the only way you can really see what you're really capable of. Again, even in the idea of going to Switzerland, it was nuts to me. It was like a shot. It was literally like a shot in the dark because like I'm already a firefighter. Like this was a childhood ambition of mine, you know, to ride on the big red trucks and to go around and saving people, and you know, to do some really badass stuff, run into burning buildings, be really cool. Came from a line of servicemen. I was just cut for it, and to be in a situation, man, it's an emotional thing because my brother's on the front line right now, and I loved what I did. It's hard, but I loved what I did because one of the biggest moments to me was there was a time when I was on a track and I was just doing my workout, and actually it wasn't that. It was when we were out of school and we're doing like, you know, you bring the truck, you let the kids see all the stuff and that. And one of the kids, he knew who I was, not because of what I did on the track, even though somehow he did know me for that as well, but it was because I helped his brother one time because he was having an asthma attack. And I remembered the call on me after he said it. And it was just the fact that you were making a difference. Like, for us, we just run in and run out. It's just a job. You just do what you gotta do. You disappear in the night. And to know that I meant something to that little kid, that he remembered my face. Of all firefighters and all trucks and all the things that kid remembered me because I helped his brother.
And he's probably never gonna forget you.
Man, it broke my heart. Yeah. You know, I'm literally like, it's like you're trying not to like cry as like you realize like, okay, and that's the whole call of something bigger than myself.
Yeah.
The idea of even again going to Switzerland was a challenge because, you know, I started building a really good community here in Atlanta. Again, I'm doing the dream job, but I felt something that was like, there's more. And as much as I loved serving my community, I felt like there was a passion that I had and a call that I have. And sometimes your passion and your calling are not the same thing. We might have to save that for another conversation. But my passion in the sport and my calling to serve, I needed to marry it. And I needed to marry it at a bigger capacity. And as much as I've been on the front lines as an athlete and using my platform as much as I could, I realized that there was a whole nother side of sport that I didn't fully understand. And I wanted to grasp that, to do it right, because it wasn't about me. It's like if you're giving something to someone, you want to make sure it's the very best representation of you and everything that you have to offer. And so the idea of going to grad school was something that I felt God placed on my heart. And as much as I was trying to avoid it, I couldn't. So I at least was willing to take the shot on that what if. And I think a lot of people aren't. Like, you think about, what if I start this podcast, or what if I apply for this job? And the thing that you say nah to, man, those are the ones that turn out to be like game changers, like seriously. And so I just was like, I literally remember it was like 2 weeks before the application deadline, and I was just like, let's just do everything that we had to do, big essays, ask for recommendations, a whole lot. I was surprised at how much people was willing to help me. I was like, whoa, I just try. I'll do my part. That's the whole preparation part. did my part, and then you give it to faith and you give it to God after that. And got the call. I was like, dang, how am I gonna pay for this? I was like the first thought. It was like, dang, that's like $30,000 living in Switzerland, one of the most expensive countries in the world. And I got a firefighter budget in good old Georgia. I am not making that much money. But I did my part. I shared my story. I let people know what it is that I was trying to do. I was authentic in my approach, and I was realistic in the same sense. And so, we didn't even raise all the money, and I was like, I still got to go. I committed to it, and I've been walking out step by step. And at this point, after that law exam that I know I passed on Monday, I can say we're making strides. Hopefully, God, and you never know, no one saw this virus coming, but we graduate on time. I'll be out of class in June. I'll walk across stage in December. And then in the meantime, between there, we're going to do as much as we can to share the power and the joy of sport, which has the ability to unite people of all race, color, and creed, and can show people that we can do something together. And that's what I want to be able to share with the world.
Yeah, that's beautiful, man. Yeah.
That's actually something I love about sports. It's like, it's the only thing that brings people together from all countries, all races. Like, it doesn't matter who you are, your background, like disability or no disability. Like, that's the one thing that does unite people all together. And that's why I love watching the Olympics. Like, all these countries come together to compete in like one specific event that is just so fun to watch, man. I love sports for that reason.
Yeah.
Such a crazy moment too that we're living in, right? Because there is no sport going on right now. There's no NBA. There's no like outside of maybe like online chess. Like what can you watch like right now? And like there's nothing in it. And for a lot of people, specifically, a lot of guys, this is the way most dudes connect over things. Like they're talking about like this is what did you watch that person go crazy last time, or like so it's a real empty space that something great can come from it as well, right down the road. But right now it's kind of I'm sure you're feeling like open space might be a little scary. How do you get past that?
Yeah, it's I think everybody kind of woke up in the sport world when the NBA got canceled. Yeah. It was like, whoa, we really serious, because that's money, right?
Yeah.
I think the only industry right now that could probably still thrive is esports. I'm not sure if anybody knows too much about that, but that has a huge market potential and is a booming industry.
It's massive,
even to the point where a lot of European soccer clubs are getting their own esport teams, and that's something that can be managed at home. But the rest of the sporting world, man, I remember it was like a trickle-down effect. So it's like one or two events got canceled. Because I remember the first track and field event that got canceled was the World Championships. The Indoor World Championships, which was supposed to be in Nanjing, China. And I think they made a decision very early in January. But you didn't think that it was going to be like, you can't go to China. It's because, again, a lot of people felt ignorance was bliss. It was bliss. We thought in the beginning it was a Chinese issue. Let's be frank about it. We thought like, it's an issue that's in China. We didn't look at the mass globalization of people. That's our fault as a society. So even though events were starting to get canceled in January, no one was taking it serious. It's like, it's a Chinese event. Yeah, you can't have a Chinese event. But it was just more and more. And I remember May was crazy. The beginning of, March. The beginning of March was crazy. It was just like, we can't have people more than 5,000 people. We can't have more than 150 people. Like, what?
They just kept cutting the number down.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, we can't have more than 10 people. This is canceled. And then, so in your preparation leading into the Olympic Games, you're like, well, there's no meets. There's no opportunities to go anywhere. And slowly but surely, so Switzerland was a border of Italy. It's like slowly but surely, things was getting really, really tight. Travel restrictions were starting to pop up. NBA then got canceled. Then I was like, okay, this is getting kind of
real
funny. NCAA canceled. Like, I remember there were a lot of people who were at the indoor NCAA championships at the meet, and the day they were supposed to compete, they were told go home.
Wow.
And there's a lot of NCAA athletes that, were seniors, the whole idea of that. Man, I feel it hard for them. The idea of just your whole senior season is just going in smoke. Luckily,
Yeah,
the
all that hard
NCAA,
work they put in.
yeah, and it's not even just a matter of like, oh, you're gonna get it back. Thanks for the NCAA for actually making that decision. But your training, your preparation. Some people probably were clicking. With sports, there's a timing with everything, and then it's just like, oh, let's try again next year. What?
Yeah, it doesn't work like that.
It doesn't. It really doesn't, because a lot of training is rhythm, and so once you start feeling something, it's just like a shot or running a route. It's a flow to it, and once you get into that swing of things, and then it's just disrupted, it takes you the same amount of time to rebuild and to get back into that swing of things. But I do feel like next year is going to be pretty exciting for all sports. You're going to see who's hungry. You're going to see who's been preparing. There's going to be a whole new zeal when you come out to just participate or play or train for anything, because it's like, freedom. We're going to be acting like we just got out of jail card. It's going to be like,
like a breathe again.
what's this sinking feeling? It's just like, this is going to be awesome.
Yeah.
And then there's also the chance that, people they're still not going to be, down to get together. This thing can swing one of two ways. Is, reading some studies, it's like, even when we are able to get back to a sense of normalcy, we don't know what that looks like. Are sporting events safe?
Right.
Just statistically speaking, we're talking about 5,000 people on average together. It doesn't matter if a cure exists or not. It's still, the rebounding effects of how viruses work. There's a lot of unknown, but the sporting world, man, has been rocked. And like you guys said, it's part of like a lot of the male bonding experience. And it's just like, what do you do now? It's just like everybody is just like kind of stuck in the matrix.
Yeah.
And then about the Olympics, and now it was necessary. We understand it, but it's still one of those things that's just weird. It's like you're uncomfortable with it, even though you know it needed to be done.
Right.
It just doesn't feel right, doesn't feel normal. And there's a lot of questions about, how do we get back to normal? How do we qualify? What happens with anti-doping? If somebody wanted to do something, they can do it now. So there's a lot of issues that we're still trying to resolve. So it's just like this eerie feeling until we get back outside. I don't know.
That's a good point. I feel like I was curious about that. Like, if you're going to be doing any kind of doping, I guess this is your year, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of questions with that, and the World Anti-Doping Agency is trying to address it. Here in the States, USADA is trying to address it. So people are trying to do their best, but on a global scale, it's still pretty tough. You're talking about borders are closed in some places. It's a legitimate threat. I'm not going to sensationalize it like, oh, everybody who wants a needle, go get one.
Totally, yeah.
It's not necessarily the case, but because let's be honest, the average athlete just wants to do the thing that they love and have fun. You just want to make sure that everybody else is on the same script. So only systematic doping schemes where there's a whole hierarchy, kind of like the whole Lance Armstrong, Oprah special.
Right.
Only those type of things are going to go on. The average person is not down for no whole system and team of doping. So the efforts are being made to understand, and more investigations are being done on that front. So we're just going to trust the authorities at B to do their job. But it's still weird. It's still weird. We just don't know. At one point we said April. We said Easter. Oh, that's this weekend. so it's just like we were hoping for May. I don't know. And I'm scared to go outside too, because I have allergies, and here in Georgia it's the worst. And so I'm just sneezing just because there's pollen in the street, and I'm
totally.
you feel like you're committing a crime if you sneeze and cough in public. It's just like,
you're trying to
it's
hide it
just
so no one looks at you.
allergies. It's just allergies. I have
Just have a shirt that says it's allergies.
Yeah.
So it's just weird. This is weird.
Yeah.
No one saw
I
this.
saw this funny post online that said that it's like, you know, people are going to start coming out of this this entire virus with allergies and looking like witchcraft. You know, it's like people are going to be like thinking you're like a witch and stuff. Like, why are you coughing over there? Why are you sneezing?
I know it's
Stoned to death.
Yeah, it's a different time. So
yeah, it's real.
I don't know how the world of sports is going to be different, but hopefully we get back to it and with excitement. I could only imagine the first football game. Man, just being back. A tailgate is going to be awesome. You know, just being back with people, and I hope if anything, we get back that appreciation for that, and maybe we took it for granted, but hopefully we can. Hopefully we can.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm hoping for. Is I'm hoping that a lot of people, you know, look at and appreciate what we had available to us, and not kind of like go back to just being greedy and selfish. You know, like if you leave this entire, you know, it's probably going to be more than 2 months, like you said. Like this is going to have like a trickle effect. It's going to be probably deep into the summer until we kind of get any back of like normalcy. But you know, I'm just hoping that people do appreciate what they have and what they have available, and not take it for granted, and not just go back to the way we were. Because like me reflecting, looking back, and just looking at posts and just everything, the way people were living, the way they were like hustling and all that kind of thing. Like now, none of that really matters. You know, like what matters is like you, your own thoughts, your family, like the people you care about, your goals, your ambitions. And that was all just lost through like that whole idea, like you said before, with New York just being like this like social media like conglomerate where it's just like all these thoughts like mix and match, and you get lost. Like your own goals and dreams get lost in that mess. And now you're just stuck with those thoughts. And hopefully people can kind of like come out of this with like a positive direction. But we'll see. So I'd love to talk a little bit about, like, I know you said you're one of the shorter athletes on the field, right?
Yeah. Man, I like to self-proclaim the fastest short man in the 110-meter hurdles. It's just not there because, again, the barrier is 42 inches. That's like to most people's midlines, right? So that's your waist level.
That's high.
So it helps to be a taller person. So it's almost like if we were playing basketball, me trying to say I'm a center. It's like, bro, come on. It's like, I got this. It's like, but in the same sense, again, it's just the idea. And I think, again, I've been trashing on New York, but I'll give it this. You make it there, you make it anywhere. And it taught me, you're not going to tell me what I can't do. I got to put my little Brooklyn accent on, but it's like, it's not going to happen.
That's a very New York mentality.
Yeah, you're like, you can't. What do you mean? What do you mean I can't? It's like it's like, what do you mean I can't?
I'll show you.
That's what exactly. That's what New York taught me. Like, what do you mean I can't? And so growing up, it was just like a weird idea that I can't do it because, and it just couldn't compute. And even to this day, you know, sometimes I let opinions in, but because it was a new event and I had a lasting principle mentality, I didn't have a reference. You know, I didn't. Later on, there's definitely stages in my career once I started doing it that opinions started to come at me a little bit. But in the beginning, it was like I didn't have a point of reference. Again, sometimes ignorance is really bliss. And so I just went into it like it was any other track and field event. Like if it was any other, you know, playground activity, like you work hard, you do your thing, it's going to happen. And so I studied, I worked. I remember there were nights where I just be on the track drilling, trying to see if I can do it. And I remember one night it just clicked, and I was like, I can do this. I can clear this. This is done. And then I held on to that for like 6 months, and I didn't tell nobody because I wasn't trying to prove it to them, honestly. It's like the idea that I can't was something that it rubbed me, and if I believed I couldn't, man, I would have changed the course of my life. To tell you the truth, if I let that thought just resonate long, I wouldn't have been an Olympian. Like, even though on paper it was probably one of the last events, the 0.00002 percentage that I had the chance, if I didn't, and I always believe like it's not always what you are attempting to accomplish, but who you become along the way. I live by like a bunch of quotes, and it's like I really
I love
again
that.
because those truths is what you got to run back to. So
Absolutely.
I have to set up a bunch of truths for myself. So like it's not just the idea of being able to do the hurdles, is knowing that I can do it because it's the principle that I can take to anything. So if someone says you from a small island or you just a little Brooklyn kid, you can't get a master's degree. Principle. Who tells me that I can't? Okay, what do I have as a point of reference? They told me I couldn't do this last time.
Right.
Insert blank, and
Yeah.
it's your history, your own history is what gives you the ability. That's why representation is always such a big thing that people talk about, just being able to see someone in a position that you want to be. But sometimes we don't do enough
Creating
internally.
our own.
Exactly.
Right.
Of just like, what has God done for me? Like, what have I been through that says like I've been prepared for this? Like I grew up here. It's like almost like every time somebody wants to fight, what do they say? Yo, I'm from this, right? Like that's your resume, right? It's like you put your hood, your city, your on your
From Jersey, you know me?
exactly.
Yeah.
But that becomes part. You go back to a point of reference. You go
Right,
back
right.
to something that says like this is now part of who I am, and this is the same thing with anything else. Let your past success be part of who you are. You're not resting on it and being like the high school quarterback for the rest of your life, but you're saying that I've done this. What's the principle that I took out of that? And how can I evolve this to what I'm trying to do now? And if you do that, then there's a constant evolution because you should be, again, attempting something that makes you be like, can I do that? That what if? And then be willing to say like, all right, let's do it. And if you fail, that's fine. Like I fail a lot of stuff. Like I've been trying to break the world record since I stepped on the track. It has not happened. It has not. But that doesn't mean I didn't try. I became a national record holder. Like my name is in the top 100 to ever do the event.
Wow.
That was not my.
Yeah.
That wasn't my goal. But that was the almost in a sense the reward. So it's like who you became, and so yeah, it's just one of those things that I'm gonna try to fight with, even in this point now where, 12 years in the hang on, only in sports, man, you have like midlife crisis at like 30. Like I'm transitioning. Look at that. It sounds weird,
Yeah.
right? We're grown men.
It's a long time to be doing it.
Yeah, I still got hair in my head, but I'm transitioning. I'm retiring. I've been working on things to do to move myself away from not just when I can't, when I don't want to, because there's the other part that we don't talk that much about is that, man, there's a lot of sacrifice. Like you give up a lot. I've missed so much. I've lost more money. I've put in more into this than I've gotten out monetarily. There's a lot of sacrifices. Like but again, some of these things have prepared me. Even like the idea, like waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning is nothing new to me. I love the world. The world at 4 o'clock is a beautiful place. Y'all should try it.
It's yours. Yeah.
It is yours, and you are so productive. And in the same sense, like now when I'm having to wake up at 2, it's nothing for me because as a firefighter, I have to wake up in the middle of the night at the drop of a dime. When those alarm goes off, it goes off. So it's like, it's weird how those little things, it's like, who would have thought me being a firefighter helps me take online classes for my master's degree during a pandemic in
You're
Europe?
like, this is easy.
Yeah.
Like, it
Yeah, you're like, it's just another day.
it doesn't make sense. But it's again, what's your point of reference? And it's trusting your experiences. Like I'm prepared for this, and I think if the band-aid of social media is a distract us not only from the world but from ourselves, and so it prevents a lot of people from reflecting, and that's good and bad. You need to be emotionally aware of how you feel and the good and the bad things so you can address that and grow as a person. And in that same journey, allow those opportunities for you to see, because a lot of people are wondering about purpose. And again, there's calling and there's passion. They're not necessarily the same thing. But in that, you look back at your experiences, you look at the things that you've done with ease, you look at the things that people appreciated out of you, and you start to see the puzzles kind of move together. And it will always be a whisper. It will always be a what if. It will always be a small notion. It's not going to be like, I can sing today, so I'm going to be a musician. It's like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to be written on the clouds. You should go for that job in marketing. Like, it's not going to be that obvious because it's not coming from the world. It's coming from you. And so if you're not able to listen to what that voice sounds like, if you don't even know what your own thoughts sound like, then all the band-aid of what social media is going to do is not only is going to keep you temporarily entertained with instant gratification, but it's going to prevent you from being able to hear your own thoughts.
Yeah, you're muted.
Yeah, your own thoughts get mixed in with all the noise. It's hard to decipher what's real and what's not.
Yeah.
It's hard, man.
Do you know the more and more I listen to you talk, do you know the quote by Teddy Roosevelt? It's like the man in the arena.
Yeah.
It's like I'm gonna mess it up completely, but it's like essentially like you're not allowed to tell me what I should feel or think or be because you're not the person in my arena. So like for you, like no one had ever been in your arena before. No one had been 5'8" running hurdles, setting world records. So like what people think may or may not be true to them, but it's not true because they've never been through your skating. They haven't had your struggle. Like they don't know what it's like. And I think that's like, man, that's like a powerful, especially for like millennials, right? That's a powerful message to get across, is that like you have the opportunity to write your own history and not look for the person that looks like me, that talks like me, that does this like me, that is built like me. I'm the one that's going to create the icon for that instead of looking for, and I think of like, coming from Brooklyn and coming from like inner city, like a lot of us look for that person that's like, oh, I can be that because I see that somebody else has done it. And the truth of the matter is that like a lot of times when you come from that, like you have to create your own icons. You have to create that.
Yeah, it's the same with like, a lot of musicians nowadays just look at another musician and they're like, oh, I want to be like that, so they'll start creating music and it sounds like that, but it's not really like true to their music within their, like what they really want to create. They just think that that's what they want because it's what they hear. And there you see it all across. I mean, you look at anything, like sporting athletes, a lot of people are like, oh, I want to be like Kobe Bryant. I want to be like this person. So I love that, Roy. That was a great quote.
I gotta find it. I gotta find it because it was like it's way better than the way I made it sound.
Yeah, but it's dangerous because as much as many people want to be like Kobe, they ain't willing to pay the price.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
They ain't willing to pay. But in the same sense, there's nothing wrong with being a trailblazer because if you don't blaze it, somebody else will.
Word.
And in the same sense, I truly believe we stand on shoulders of giants. Again, one of the quotes that I live by. And anything that I was able to achieve, it doesn't necessarily have to come from someone who looks or sounds or from the same everything like me, but I match their heart, I match their will, I match their ideas.
Yeah.
And so I take that and I stand on that to be able to do something. I may not have been the 5'8" world record holder, but there might be one coming. Because somebody's going to be like, okay, it's possible, the idea. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same thing. I might inspire somebody who's in judo or something. I mean, it doesn't even have to be a direct, correlation. It could just be the idea or the notion of something that this person, if all it took away is that I should write my own story, accomplish. And I think that's good enough. Because like even in the idea of the University of Kentucky, I remember I set the school record there. Records are meant to be broken. The current school record holder is a young guy, Daniel Roberts, ran. When I broke the school record, I think I ran 13:4. School record is now 13:07. That is the third fastest time in NCAA history.
Wow.
I'm not saying I watered his seed. All I'm saying is I set a benchmark.
Yeah.
That was meant to be broken. and I think that's fair. Uh, my whole There's two common themes right now that I'm really driving off of, and that's legacy and impact. And you would hope to make an impact that leaves a lasting legacy. But even if the legacy is not in the direct form of what you imagine it to be, doesn't mean that it's not something that lives on forever. So it can just be a notion, kind of like when Will Smith says, "I want to be an idea." You can't kill that. You cannot kill that. And that is what lives on forever. If I could be a positive verb, like you got you got Tyson. You know, if I want to be like that's like you. I want to just. That's something I want, and again, especially in the idea of transitioning or taking the leap to go across to get this master's degree to finish off and run one more Olympics. I would say if my career was to end today, I'm full. Like I already have done more than I thought I could even do in an event that I didn't even know I could do it in. And I think because of that, it now changes the way I train. It changes my whole perspective. I don't want to coach myself. That's for a fact. I'm hoping that because I haven't, made the full decision yet. Another year is another commitment, and I'm already in graduate school. I'm about to graduate, and I would love to earn an income. But in the same sense, if I was to continue, I need a coach. I need somebody to come along with. I need training partners. I need to share the vision. So it's just interesting how, as much as I've been internal in a lot of this conversation with my motivators, I am now transitioning in that sense as well, of being more external, of caring more about my family. My decision to be a part of the mass exodus out of Europe when Trump was getting ready to close the borders was like, if stuff goes down, I want to be with my fam. That was my motivator. And so it was like, I remember they were closing classes on Friday, and I was on the phone with my girlfriend, and then Apple News popped up and Trump was talking about what? And I was like, I'm buying a ticket. I left Saturday morning. I didn't sleep. Left Saturday morning, and I came back, and that Monday is when everything just shut down. And so it's just like sometimes it's like that. But my motivations have been more, what can I give? What can I share? Who can we help? I've gotten a lot out of it. And so now it's about a transfer of knowledge, a transfer of experience. There's knowledge, there's wisdom, and wisdom is what you do with knowledge. And so if I can save somebody from stubbing their toe, or to help them use a cheat code, to excel in a certain thing, because I would say growing up, that's what I was able to do. Even though I grew up in Trinidad, we had some hard circumstances. We immigrated to New York, had some hard circumstances. The community around me always guided me because they saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And so although they were having the fun doing all the stuff that we shouldn't have been doing, they kept me. So I learned from their mistakes and was able to still have an opportunity to do a lot of things. So in the same sense, if this has been, and again, it's not for you to necessarily achieve the same thing, but to achieve whatever your excellence is, whatever your Olympics is. Because it's pretty damn hard to say that my highest ranking has been 4th. To say that I am top X in the world, period, in something is pretty, if you think about it, it's wicked, man. It's like, wow, to say I've done that. I've done that 3 legitimate times in a span of X amount of years. Companies can't say that as organizations.
Yeah. I mean, one time alone is hard. Man, doing it 3 is fucking awesome.
It's tough, but in the same sense, whatever that is for you, whether it's just creating a series of content that's going to change one life, that's worth it, man. Like, unless you've ever had someone send you a letter saying like, man, you stopped me from suicide, man, you don't know how the littlest things can make a difference. And just being willing to connect with people. And if anything, I hope this pandemic kind of reminds us that we're all human, because everybody is being affected. That if we get back to just engaging with people, if this is our form for now, it will be. But we're connecting with more people than we've ever had before.
Mm-hmm.
And hopefully we don't lose sight of that when we get back into whatever
Totally.
normal is going to be.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Man,
hoping for.
I think you hit something home for us, is like the reminder of like kind of like why we started this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Like we wanted to make sure that people had a platform to there's a lot of people that are great that we feel like don't have a platform, and B, we wanted to make sure that people that were viewing had a space for inspiration and motivation, or get something out of this in some way, even if it's like one quote or one way somebody's eating or one thing that like will transition, and maybe it won't save their life, but in we secretly hope that it'll be that big of an impact in some way for people.
Yeah. Whatever it is, man, as long as you water the seed, one drop or two, you give it an opportunity to live another day.
Yeah. Thank you, because that was a healthy reminder. I feel like maybe me and Anthony both kind of needed.
Keep it up, man.
Yeah.
We need
Great.
these opportunities. We need these opportunities to just connect, man. Sharing of the ideas and just being human.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, I got a lot to digest right now. I'm just thinking in my head. I'm like, yo, you got a lot of knowledge over there, bro. I really appreciate you talking with us.
I just made a lot of mistakes and asked a lot of questions. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like you have like a really solid, almost like your own 10 commandments. You have all these different quotes and all these different kind of pieces that you pulled together. Maybe you should make like a Mikel 10 commandments. We'll like put on a T-shirt, like all your top 10 quotes that you follow. And just get it out there.
People have said that, one day I'll write a visual book, because I'm very visual in my content creation. But I don't know. It's just, I just feel like it's unfair. Like even like a lot of the issues that we deal with in society, I feel like we should just be able to talk it out, even if it's not the same opinion. Like, I think it depends on the goal of what people have in conversation, right? And in straight basic communication, people have goals in conversation, and most of the time it's to convince rather than to share. My goal is not to convince. Like, this is what worked for me, man. If it didn't work all the time, if I can tell myself this on a regular basis, I feel like it will make a difference. You should try it. If it works for you, you should. If it doesn't, let me know what does. That's what it is. I'm not trying to be like, yes, everybody needs to read to this and listen to that, and if you don't listen to the Bible, it's like I'm not forcing not even my method, because I feel like I can't even hold on to anything, because then I'm stuck to just be the same person that I was. I just love the idea of growth and change. I want to listen to this podcast in a few years and be like, okay, I can see how I've changed from there. There should be an opportunity to be like, okay, I've grown a little bit. This conversation changed. It's like, I thought that, or that. It's like, there should be something like that. But it all depends. I think we're trying too much to convince each other that what we're doing needs to be on mass production.
Couldn't agree more.
Mm.
Everyone has an opinion. Everyone's right. And that's one of the biggest issues right now. No one gets along because they're the right one. You got to follow, like you said, that's the way to go, But like, no, man. Everyone's different. Everyone has their own path.
Yeah, everyone has their truths. And even when I was talking about minds, I call them truths, because they can change. And
right, they're working for you right now.
Exactly. And if it's what you believe, there's no way that someone is going to be able to tell you that it's not true. It's like if you say that's purple, bro, and I say that's red, or I say it's green.
I'm color deficient, man. That's red to me.
If it's purple, it's purple. I'm not even going to be mad at you. We're just going to be mixed matched the whole day. That is fine. Like, sometimes you wonder, it's like, would it be that wrong if it was? It's like, that's okay. Like, I've taken it as a pleasure to live in a lot of interesting places where I've realized I would be the first person that they would have ever met from Trinidad and Tobago, or from a big city or anything like that. And so I can come with some preconceived notion, or I can actually, if this is the first opportunity that you're going to meet someone from Trinidad and Tobago, welcome to the greatest show on earth. Welcome to the biggest carnival. Welcome to love. Welcome to culture. Welcome to food. Have you eaten today? Let me cook you something from my island. Like and all of that was sharing. It wasn't like this is how we do it and you need to do it like how we do it. Like I've come across people like that. But in the same sense, it's like, I love you for who you are. If that's who you want to be, that's cool with you. Like that doesn't stop me from breathing. And then we can still find a way to move forward. Like, I don't know. People.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this time people have to take advantage of this time.
Yeah.
You talked about like listening to this podcast a few years from now and kind of like self-reflecting, being like, oh, I grew. Or if you don't, then you're just like, why not move forward? So like now people could take a chance to self-reflect on their life, realize what they were doing wrong or right, and then adjust and move forward and be a better person or a better whatever they're doing, a better athlete, a better business owner, whatever it is. So yeah, I mean, I love I'm a big self-reflection guy. Like, I love reflecting and looking at what I've done, good or bad, and adjusting. And I think that a lot of people are afraid of that. There's a lot of people that are just afraid to really like dive into themselves and be forced to look in the mirror. And I don't know how, but I wish we could figure out a way to help make that more of a good idea to do.
This is it, man. This is it. The podcast.
Yeah.
I think this is like showing that what you can get out of it, right? Like you've gotten so much out of reflecting on your own and adjusting and moving forward and almost seeking for moments that were like opportunities but more difficult. Like that it's actually gotten you somewhere. Not only has it gotten you somewhere, but it's getting you other places. So I think it's like the more we share videos like this and podcasts like this, people will see that maybe, there is a transition where there is more room for us to share openly and vulnerably, and there is more room for us to reflect and to admit that, sometimes we suck as people. we don't do things that are great, and we would want to do it better, but we would have to push ego to the side a little bit to kind of get better. And, sometimes people strive on the idea that ego is actually what's the thing that's going to get them better, but I think it's actually the opposite.
Yeah. That's true. Hopefully, again, you just drop down a thought that will spark a conversation. Because it's almost like, I'm sure this happens to a lot of people, where you're having a don't touch your face. When you're having a conversation with like a friend who's having an issue or problem, and you realize that they didn't really need your advice; they just needed the opportunity to hear their thoughts out loud.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That's how it is. A lot of the time we know what to do. We just need the space to get it, to have that conversation. Whether, again, if you do it internally, creating that mental space. Like I fast from social media from time to time, just like take a break. Like it'll be okay. Yeah. If it was that good, it'll trend. You can watch it next week. It'll be all right. But you're not gonna miss anything by being in the loop right now. But in the same time, just reflect. Just take the time. How do you really feel? Because the worst thing, and I'm sorry, ladies, I'm gonna say this to you, but it's like when you're in an argument with a female, or with a young lady, a woman, your mother, your girlfriend, and they bring up something from the past, and you're like, if you told me it was an issue then, we would have took care of it then, and it wouldn't be blown up now. We do it to ourselves. We try to sweep it under the rug. We act like, nah, it was nothing. Maybe it's ego. Maybe it's pride. Nah, that didn't hurt me. That didn't bother me. Didn't mean nothing. And then something else, the smallest little thing trigger. You see a kid having ice cream with his father. You break down and crying because you never told your father I love you before he passed. And it's just like, this is real life stuff that happens because we're true, especially men. I gotta call us out. We're choosing to ignore how we feel because showing your emotions isn't masculine, whatever that means. So it's like, even
why do you think people do that? Like, why do you think it's so like people just don't want to just say exactly what's on their mind at that point? Like, what do you? I don't know.
I think it's go ahead. What you got?
No, I was thinking of a thought that me and Roy had a podcast. We do these little segments, but it's like being assertive, right? It's like
Yeah.
being assertive is telling what you want to get what you want. You know, like
Mhm.
in the example of like arguing with a girl or anyone, it's like if you just told me that then, this wouldn't have happened. So I wonder, and yeah, that was just like a thought that I was having.
But I think that happens. Like, I mean, right? We're saying guys do this and girls do this. I think
Yeah.
guys do the same shit. Like
Yeah, we do.
we do it way worse because in a sense it's like what we want for somebody is maybe time and attention and like their love, but in reality what we say is like, you know, I don't know what a guy would say, but like, you know, we say
Yeah.
something stupid, we say something abrupt, and what we're like, oh, I'm being straightforward, I'm being direct, when in reality I'm being aggressive instead of assertive. So for me to be assertive, I would actually have to be emotional. I would have to actually be open and vulnerable for me to actually tell you what I want. What I actually want from you is like, I want time with you when you're not on your phone for
Yeah.
2 hours checking through your Instagram feed. But instead, what I say, like, oh, guess you're on your fucking phone again. You know.
Yeah.
So what
True.
ends up happening is we miss out on opportunities for us to be better because we're so focused on, you know, being assertive, but in reality it's like we actually have to tap into being open. We need to be tap into being vulnerable to get the things that we actually want out of our world.
I feel you on that. Sorry, ladies, we do it too. But I like the idea of again assertion. But it reminds me of a coaching analogy. It's because you see a lot of the times where coaches are trying to fix something, they go for the immediate problem. They go for the first thing that you can see. A good coach will follow the chain and will go to the virus. Coach Dan Papp, one of the greatest coaches that I've ever had to deal with, he would always look for the virus. No pun intended, but he will go for the core issue. If you fix this, then a whole series of things will change, and it goes to that whole idea of assertion. My relationships, and all of them, I call them the heart matter. Is like what is really the problem at the heart, at the root, and somehow, you know, I have my theories on this. We have become afraid of being afraid and afraid of being vulnerable. But I see vulnerability as if money is like a heavy suit and your ego is a helmet and you have all these chinks of armor, the strongest thing you can do in a fight is take it off.
Yeah.
And that's how we're supposed to, at least my opinion, how it would help if we approach conversation that way.
Yeah.
I don't need to tell you about all the projects I've been working on, and it doesn't really matter how many accolades I have. What's really bothering me is the fact that this, and you seeing me in this situation might make me a little uncomfortable, and it might be something that you're not even used to seeing. But I think from this point on, maybe we can move forward together, because that's ultimately what I hope to go. Because every conversation is going in one or two directions. You're either working to move together or apart.
Yeah.
That's the only purpose in conversation. You're trying to draw together in some sort of understanding or sharing of ideas or concepts or whatever the case is, or this is the conversation that's supposed to create a level of distance so that we don't have a conversation anymore. So if there's a bottom line in which we're going into the conversation, at the end of this conversation, I'm walking out with you. And if I have to leave this armor on the side to do that, then that's okay. Because I didn't say the bottom line was me leaving with the armor. So what are we trying to leave the conversation with? And sometimes we prize and we idolize those things. We idolize the job or the position and realize, like, I remember at the height of my career where I was making money and I was traveling and I was running around. Did I share this story with my girlfriend? I hope so. And and I had a European model and I'm just running around living the life and like, yeah, I worked hard for this all these years. Give me, give me, give me. And it was like empty, empty, empty. I was like, damn, this is you just band-aid, buy this. It's not good
Mm.
enough. Buy it again. Talk to her. I want her. Get a prettier one. Like this, the idea and the concept of more will kill you because it's never enough.
Mm.
And it wasn't until it was like, that's not really what I want. This is what I really want. This is what I need in the situation, and the stripping down of all of that stuff. Like it was weird how my path again has been like. There was one year I was on the top of the world, and then the very next year I was homeless, and then the following year I was a medalist. But sometimes we have a saying of this in the Caribbean: "Who don't hear does feel." And so it goes: if you don't listen, you're going to feel it for yourself. That's the English version. But it's the idea like sometimes you're being told like, bro, don't do that. It's like it's nothing new underneath the sun, right? So the information is there. You know the difference between right or wrong. You know it's what the results will be if you choose certain actions. But if you don't listen to it, you're going to feel it for yourself.
Mm.
And only sometimes when you feel it for yourself, especially like when you're talking to like a teenager and it's like, you don't know how I feel. You're not the first person in life who's ever felt like this. Like, I think that's the problem. And not saying they're not real issues, like there are others, including myself potentially, that have felt the same way. Let me give you two steps to the left that might make a whole difference in what you're seeing. Because all it is perspective.
Mhm.
And the thing about perspective, again, we could be all looking at the same thing and go like this, and you will see something different.
Mhm.
And it doesn't mean like what you're seeing there is wrong. It's like, this is my cell phone. If you're this way, you're going to see this side. You're seeing the back of my cell phone. I'm seeing the front. Are you seeing my cell phone? Yes. Are you seeing the back of my cell phone? You are. Am I seeing the back of my cell phone? No. But you're still seeing, like, you understand? Like, you're still
Yeah, yeah.
seeing something that's true. If we just get back to, like, and I don't know how we got it, because one of my ideas or theories is it started probably again with the baby boom, with, World War was hard. We didn't have the opportunity to have the men in the home, having certain type of conversations were possible. Then it became very commercialized of being super masculine and not sure and feeling your only job as a man was to do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We became very role oriented as a society, that this is what your job is, this is what your job is. The Industrial Revolution made that clear. The way schools are designed forced people to fit in a box. And
Mm.
so people were getting used to that this is where we're supposed to be in society. And now that we had the technological revolution, we're more connected than ever. You don't need a degree to be a millionaire. There's a mass opportunity to sharing of information, mass globalization. There's more than one way to do a particular thing, and there's a freedom of expression, creativity has reemerged. It's almost like, so what does it mean to be a man? Because the 1950s definition doesn't necessarily work in 2020. And what does it mean to be a woman? And
Yeah, just a
relationships,
person.
male, female, male, male. What do you identify as sexually oriented? Like, there are more questions in society today. And we're looking at old answers and not allowing society to kind of come up with your own definition. It's like
Mm.
the dictionary will add words every so often when a word becomes popular because it needs to be representation of where
Mhm.
society is. I think we have to redefine some of our roles of what does it mean to be a man, what does it mean to be strong in manliness. Like, can vulnerability be a side of leadership? I would follow somebody who's authentic with me,
Absolutely.
wouldn't you? I
Agree.
mean,
Yeah,
Oh
hell
yeah.
yeah.
so it's like sometimes we have to evolve as fast as the rest of us are.
I agree. I think what you just said kind of like hits home because like there are these transitional periods that humans go through throughout the world. It's like you said, like World
Yeah,
War II. In my opinion, like World War II is probably the last real struggle humans had on the global scale.
probably.
Yeah,
I can see.
and like that's why like ever since then humans. I mean, there's been like little blips here and there, but as a global world, like one world, we haven't really come into a situation where we've all been in the same fight, the same transition of comfort to the unknown.
Maybe till
And we're
today.
Until now.
yeah, until right now. And like you said, you know, it's going to redefine what it means to be a human being, what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman. Because you noticed over the past few years, you know, those same things have come into light with like you know, trans, you know, like just trans rights and, you know, what it means to be strong. You know, oh, you're a man that's vulnerable, you know, where 10 years ago you were called a pussy, but now you're like, hey, don't call that person that. Like that's not cool. Like we're starting to like really adapt and grow as a society, as people, we're redefining. And like hopefully this point right now, we're just living through it, which is why so many people are afraid, because it's unknown. We're in uncharted territory. No one knows anything. We're all just in the same boat. And, you know, something that I really love to see a lot of is like all of the camaraderie around cheering. You know, like I've seen videos all online of like, you know, when the shifts change of like nurses, like they're going around and like cheering instead of like sitting inside. Like we're coming together as a community and like applauding these people for their efforts to keep everyone safe, to like fight the war. You know, like they are the new warriors. So, you know, little things like that, it just like gives me hope that people aren't as selfish as they were, and we're gonna come out better the other side.
I hope so too.
Yeah.
I hope so too.
So, all right, man. Well, hey, I know you're busy. That was like, we could probably talk for 14 more hours.
It's good. You should do like a rapid fire just so I make sure I hit all the cues that we need.
Yeah. I mean, that was an amazing conversation. I'm just
yeah,
gonna
no,
have
I
to
think
listen
we
to that
hit
probably.
plenty.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to listen to it like 3 times. But Mikel, thank you so much for coming to talk with us. It was really, really good to talk to you. I really appreciate it.
No doubt.
Yeah, thank you. Honestly, a true blessing to talk to you today.
Absolutely. Maybe you know, a year later, once everything's kind of settled out, we can reconnect and see where you're at and see what you're up to, and
it is,
share some more stories.
Having a conversation with my girlfriend. I'm looking forward to what it's going to look like next year. Like I really feel like it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know where I'm going to end up as I'm looking for opportunities. You know, this might be a conversation from Madagascar to San Francisco. I don't know. You know, and then the same thing with you guys. You know, who knows what growth and transitions or evolutions could take place. But just let me know how I can be of service, man.
Yeah,
you know, any conversations you want to have, you know, any other platforms or whatever you guys got it going on. And just let me know how I can plug this, share this, and keep the thing moving.
Absolutely, man. Thank you so much. So let everyone know just where they can find you, follow you, see what you're up to.
Yeah. So you can check me on Instagram, Twitter, all that social media at Mikel_Thomas. The whole mission again is just to make I want to inspire people to be greater than they've ever imagined. Take the whole ceiling off of what you feel you're capable of doing. My mission right now is to graduate and to finish my Olympic and my athletic journey. If you want to be a part of that, you can check me out at GoFundMe, help Olympic Firefighter, and you learn more about what we've been able to do. Like in the short time that I've been in Europe, I've been a part of the Airbnb launch with the IOC. I don't know how I got myself in the room, shaking the hands of billionaires, talking about the impact of sponsorship in the sport. Like, I want to globalize that opportunity for people to make earning wages within sports, but then also allow kids to understand how sport can be used to develop different opportunities and different skills within who you are as an individual, from discipline, hard work, commitment, and just give people a perspective. Never would I have thought, for coming from a small island, that I would be an ambassador traveling around the world. But it's because someone gave me an opportunity and shared their story with me, and I was glad for the platform to do that today. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, if
you're listening to this, please do one of 2 things. A, follow Mikel. B, jump on his GoFundMe. Definitely drop him a donation. And if you can't, even if it's $1, something, you know, if we got more money in that, put more money in that, at least share it, share the story. I feel like this is something that a lot of people need to hear.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, if anyone could do it, you could do it. So
I'm gonna try.
Yeah, awesome, man. Well, hey, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe and keep up following along, man.
Absolutely, guys. Till the next
Safe.
time.
All right.
All right.
Thank you.
Take care. See ya.